Hi everyone, glad to see that you are joining us for today's event. We will be talking about Drophunting Impact on Web3 Market, and my name is Petro. I'm Senior Investment Analyst at 3x Capital, and I will be your speaker today. I'm looking forward to our discussion that we will have, so feel free to ask any questions, provide any comments to the chat. Otherwise, you're looking on LinkedIn or on YouTube whenever you're joining us. So, a few words about myself. My crypto journey started in 2019. I started as a small investor. I was looking for uh, liquid tokens for public projects. Started obviously from Bitcoin, got interested in the value that it is providing in comparison to regular money, and also got curious about blockchain technology, started to learning it by myself, while also being a data analyst at one of the government projects we've been working on. So I was working with a big amount of data, and at certain point of time, it was kind of boring for me, and I decided that I want to switch my profession, switch my industry, and go full time into crypto. So I joined the 3x Capital team at the beginning of 2022 with a certain uh, kind of knowledge about blockchain industry. I grew my knowledge together with our team, and I'm here today to share some insights on Web3 and airdrops with you. But before we start, let me also tell a few words about our company, about 3x Capital, and what we are doing. We are, in a nutshell, a digital investment firm, which also provides advisory services for early stage Web3 startups. We're working with startups in pre-seed, seed stages, and helping them to uh, actually achieve their mission, achieve their goals by providing support with tokenomics development and helping them to structure fundraising processes. Also, we are a team, a project with the goal of decentralization and bringing Web3 to as many people as possible. Therefore, we have our educational program where we're trying to bring people to Web3, show them how we see operate, how actually the Web3 startups are building and developing. So uh, we decided to have this educational program, and currently we are in the middle of launching our sixth cohort. If you are interested to join us, feel free to go to our website and check information about it. Also, additional thing that we are doing and proud of, we launched our investment club where individuals can join and invest in early stage Web3 startups alongside venture investors, venture capital funds like us. You can join the club following the website as well. You can submit a form, and our team will review the form, connect with you, and yeah, you can become the member of our 3x club. And as we will be talking about drop hunting and airdrops today, we also do have a small department that is working with projects, which is called, our department is called testnet department. So we are doing activities in different projects with the expectation of getting rewards for doing it. And I will share more details about it today. Before we move forward, here is our track record of past investment that we did. We started investing as angel syndicate a few years ago, and since then we did 45 investments and exited from 25 of them. We targeted 4 niches. As you can see, it's infrastructure, Web3, DeFi, and GameFi. And on average, we generated the profit of 9x from investment. And without further introduction, let's jump to the topic and let's discuss airdrops. What does it mean and what impact it has on the Web3 market? Yep. Hope guys you hear me clearly. Let me know in the comments that everything all right and I can continue. So yeah, moving forward with airdrops, at the beginning we need to define and have the understanding what actually airdrop means. So this is a great definition from Investopedia that we can use, but basically airdrop is like the mechanism of distribution of tokens, the project to future holders to incentivize them for doing something in the past, and also to create attraction, create a hype around the project, and make holders of the token like actual users of the project. And in the past, we've seen a few examples. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. And today we will try to review them and understand the potential of airdrop distribution like a mechanism for a future distribution of tokens. This is the question that we need to answer today in the end of our event and discussion. So why actually projects do airdrops? As we mentioned at first and foremost, I can say it's hype and bringing more attention to the project, to the product that they are building. So when the big part of tokens is distributed among numerous of holders, it's like a psychological effect where an investor or user receiving something for free, or for example, for certain activities that were done in the past, this holder and user starts using this product and starts using it heavily at the very beginning when this airdrop is distributed. But there are some statistics, and we can check them, that in some cases this activity getting lower and lower after claiming the airdrop from the user, but in some cases activity is only growing, coming into the future even after several months after the airdrop. Activity is still high. Another part of purposes of airdrops from projects is decentralization, and we've heard a lot about this term, and we know that Web3 is about decentralization and bringing people to the network and making them independent from a centralized entity. And a lot of projects are using this approach of airdrop to actually distribute the power, the decision-making power between the community of token holders who are becoming holders after getting these tokens. This case is quite common for layer 2 scaling solutions that are currently launching on Ethereum. You can find a lot of different projects that are currently building their layer 2s, or some projects that were launched in the past that are currently in mainnet, and even some of them already launched tokens, which are governance tokens, and they actually helped to build a further decentralization near the protocol. And the third part of why projects do airdrops is regulations. It's kind of obvious because we've seen that SEC is cracking down on crypto. They are calling quite big and like the biggest assets on the market securities, and trying to regulate them. And one of the approaches to mitigate the risk of being considered as a security in the future is actually distribute your token not through the sale for public investors, but rather through an airdrop. And that's why some projects are deciding not to do public sale, not to do any ICO, but rather go with airdrop, distribute tokens, and sleep well and don't worry about SEC. And if you look at criteria that I use to pick eligible users who can receive airdrop from projects, there are different criteria, and these criteria are created by projects, and they are unique for each airdrop. But still, we can categorize them in 3 different groups. The first one is called retroactive rewards, which means these are rewards for doing certain activities in the past. So, for example, if the project was launched on mainnet in the past, but the project didn't launch the token yet, you can participate in a certain activities. And then when the project decides to launch their token, they are looking through on-chain activity that was done in a certain period of time and rewarding users for their activity. And the second option is called testnet incentivization. This is something where project is currently at testnet phase, and they announcing that they will be rewarding certain group of people, certain group of users for clearly defined activities that could be done on testnet. And the third part, which is not quite common, but sometimes it's used by projects, mostly layer 1 projects that are currently at testnet phase, and they just want to distribute the token during the mainnet launch to a big group of people. They are trying to find this eligibility criteria through social activity. For example, the case was with Sui, which is the layer 1 on Move. They didn't do an airdrop, but still they did a public sale with it was something like a community sale where someone who was on the Discord before a certain period of time, certain date, received a whitelist for a sale and was able to buy a certain amount of tokens at really low price. The price was several times lower than the price of a previous round for investors. And these 3 criteria is mainly used by projects to define who can be eligible for a future token distribution. And right now, I would like to review a major airdrops from the past. We will look into several of them. Obviously, not all, but some projects that need to be highlighted. Awesome. The first one, you obviously heard about it. It was the first major airdrop, and a few months ago, it was the biggest airdrop at all time. But still, there are some thoughts that Uniswap airdrop wasn't the best example of how tokens should be distributed and how this mechanism of token distribution can impact the future of the protocol. And here is the article written by one of Dune analysts that you can check afterwards. And there are some cool points highlighted about not good things that happened with Uniswap activity after the airdrop tokens were distributed. So mainly the thing that happened with Uniswap was that on September 2020, they distributed airdrop of Uni token, which was the purpose of governance and further decentralization of the protocol. So they picked around 250,000 addresses and distributed on average 400 uni tokens per address. And at the very beginning, there was a problem because around 95% of all receivers of airdrop received around 400 tokens, but rest 5% received a really large portion of tokens. It was around 250k of uni tokens per address. I mean, this is really high, and it looks like a centralization inside the decentralization, right? Because you are distributing a kind of big number of tokens to a small number of holders, users, and airdrop participants. Then, at the very beginning, when airdrop happened, the activity on the network was high, right? A lot of users who received airdrop started using Uniswap more and more. But then, after a few months, the activity started dropping, and at the end, there was a quite good analysis, and we've seen that with current major holders of Uni token, only a few percent are holders who received Uni drop back in 2020. And there is quite logical explanation, because in 2020 Uniswap wasn't such big as it is right now, and a lot of people came after 2020, but still people are using this statistic to highlight that airdrop is not always the best case marketing mechanism to bring new people to the project, right? And yeah, today we will try to understand if it is true, or maybe there are some other examples where airdrop worked very well. And moving forward to another one is Optimism, the project that launched their governance token back in May 2022. And Optimism is a layer 2 protocol on Ethereum, one of the biggest in terms of a TVL, which is a total value locked, which is a value locked inside the network, inside the protocol, across different applications and wallets that are holding assets on Optimism network. So you can see on this chart that during the token launch, OP token launch in May 2022, we've seen the TVL of around $400 million. And immediately after airdrop, the TVL started decreasing. But if you remember, it was the time of start of current bear market. So we've seen something like Luna crash, and sentiments on the market were quite low. So this drop in TVL can also be connected to these activities and these case scenarios on the market. But still, in summer, end of summer, beginning of autumn, we've seen a big rise in a total value locked on Optimism on Optimism network. We've seen that TVL grew to almost 3 billion. And if we compare also the number of active users back then where token was launched and number of users that we have right now, both TVL and users number is higher. So it means that airdrop was done successfully. And main difference between Uniswap and Optimism airdrop, main difference in my understanding, is that Optimism distributed only part of tokens that are allocated to the community, and they decided to distribute the other part through future airdrops, which means that user is receiving tokens during the first airdrop, but it's still he is or she is still interested to use network because this user can become eligible for a second airdrop or third airdrop or future airdrops of the project. This approach actually works, and we've seen that activity on Optimism network only grew since the launch of the token. And here are some eligibility criteria for Optimism airdrop, and currently a lot of layer 2s are using the same or similar criteria to actually distribute the token or launch their airdrops more in the future. So what we've seen here, there were different tiers where for each activity user was receiving a part of airdrop allocated to the community. So first of all, it was Optimism users. So if user was using Optimism across multiple days and during a certain period of time since mainnet phase, and during even the pre-mainnet phase, the user received a part of OP token. There were also criteria like repeat users, which means the user need to use at least for 4 weeks. There were also DAO voters, and we've seen something similar with other projects like Arbitrum, right? Right now, you can vote on their governance, and they already launched the token as well. Also, there were multi-sig signers, Gitcoin donors, and also what is interesting, the Optimism team distributed part of tokens for different layer 1 users. So you can see that someone who bridged out from Optimism to chain, one of 10 chains of Terra, Binance Smart Chain, Phantom, and so on, and then remains active on this layer 1, also received a part of tokens. So this eligibility criteria was structured in the form of keeping the activity inside the network after the distribution of the token. And then as we started to talk about Arbitrum, another layer 2 and Ethereum currently, and the biggest one in terms of total value locked. Here we also see the positive narrative after the token launch. So the token was launched back in March 2023. It was also launched through airdrop, and till this date, this is the biggest airdrop in terms of people in terms of number of users who received an airdrop, and also in terms of total sum of money that was distributed, total sum of value of tokens that users received. And if you compare the TVL that was back in March, it was almost 70% lower than we have it right now. So it grew almost 1.5, and it's a good sign, meaning that people are still using Arbitrum and using it even more after the token was distributed to the community. And if we will check the statistics about the claiming of airdrop, Arbitrum airdrop, we will see that currently not all users already claimed it. which means that there are still some eligible users who can go to Arbitrum website and claim their tokens. Moving forward to eligibility criteria for Arbitrum, this one is kind of similar to criteria that we had with Optimism. And you can check that here was something like a point system, which we haven't seen with Optimism. Optimism just rewarded for certain activities, but Arbitrum decided to go with total reward, which was calculated using following criteria. So it was bridging, it was conducting number of transactions and interacting with different smart contracts. Also, there was volume. So if user breached and then used volume exceeding $10,000, this user received 1 point, and this point was added to a total number of points, and then the maximum points that could be collected was 12 or more, right? And for 12 or more points, the user received 10,250 ARB tokens. And when Arbitrum was launched, the price per token was around $1.2, and that's why it was the biggest airdrop of all time. And to compare, project that was launched not through airdrop but more like a public sale, we need a little background on Sui, because it is a layer 1 blockchain built on Move language and built by the team who was previously working on Facebook's blockchain was working on Facebook and also with blockchain called Libra. And then they decided to shut down the project because of problems with regulators. And after that, they created their own team and created the project called Sui. And it was one of the projects where expectations from the community for airdrop was high. The testnet metrics were quite good. And if you compare the testnet metrics in terms of transaction speed, transaction throughput to metrics that we have currently on mainnet, they will be different. And the point of this chart is to understand that Sui did public sale. They didn't distribute an airdrop to their testnet participants, testnet users. Still, it was a good deal for community, but it wasn't organized comfortably for people to get these tokens. So it means even if you were an early supporter of the project, you only received a chance to be eligible and be whitelisted for public sale, which means there were users who did a lot of job for the project in terms of marketing, in terms of building communities around the project, but they didn't receive anything, any rewards. And what we've seen after the launch of the project, the TVL was around 35 million. And since 2 months from the launch was in April, even 3 months, we've seen that TVL was decreasing all the time, and currently it's standing at around 12 millions, 12 millions of TVL. Yeah, sorry, I'll get back in a minute. Yeah, need to close the door. I'm here. Yeah, let's continue. Let's continue with Sui. And I think you get this point of view that in this case, not having airdrop and not rewarding community for testnet activities and for early supporting the project played actually a bad game with the project, which right now looks like something without any activity and almost empty. And you should understand that this is the not a like low tier project. This is top tier with total sum of investment of around 300 million and backers like Binance Labs and other top tier investors. So to compare, we have another project which is kind of similar, also built on Move, also built by X team of Facebook, and it is called Aptos. They, from their side, decided to launch through airdrop, and it was quite successful launch, and they launched back in October 2022, and I didn't put the information about Aptos TVL here in presentation, but I checked it several days ago, and if you compare the TVL that was at the very beginning and TVL right now, it is something at the same level, and it's also not high. They have around 50 million TVL right now, but still it's around 5 times higher than the TVL of Sui. And another thing that I would like to discuss with you today is potential upcoming airdrops and to see how the activity on these projects is skewed because people are doing a lot of activity in expectation to receive some rewards in the future. So the first one, and I guess the most hyped right now, is Layer 0. So this is the omni-chain interoperability protocol, which allows to safely bridge from any EVM chain to any other EVM chain. So right now they are working with an Oracle, with centralized Oracle. They are working with Chainlink, and they do have a relayer which allows to have different liquidity pools on each network and use them to bridge from one network to another, which means there is no security issue, no target for hackers that we've seen with bridges in the past. And currently, we've seen that there are around 2.4 million unique users, while when we've seen the drop of Arbitrum, the airdrop of Arbitrum, there were around 2.7 million unique users, while around 1 million of these users or of these wallets was wallets of exchanges. But it's not the case for Layer 0 because Layer 0 is not a network that is supported by exchanges, right? And here, all of 2.4 million unique users can be considered for a potential airdrop that we might have. To see the hype and to confirm the hype around the project, we can look at the chart of daily transaction count. So you can see that until the announcement of the Series B round, which was made in March 2023, where Layer 0 Labs raised 120 million at 3 billion valuation from top tier funds, the activity wasn't bad actually, but it wasn't such high that we have right now. And after announcement of this Series B, we've seen a big sharp rise in activity, and we've seen that a lot of users are trying to interact with the network with products built on layer 0 in the expectation of the future airdrop of the project. And what we are curious to see in a few months or even in a few years is the comparison of this activity, this number of daily transaction to daily transaction after the token will be launched, because the confirmation of existing of zero token is almost clear, right? But it's not known right now how it will be distributed. A lot of uh, a lot of Web3 users are expecting that it will be airdrop, and it might be airdrop because the zero token should be a governance token of the protocol, and Layer Zero Labs, a team, highlighted that they are working on decentralization, on bringing more oracles to the network and eliminating this point of risk with centralization of one oracle, which is Chainlink, right? And low number of relayers that they have right now. So the question whether there will be or not will be a zero token is almost clear right now, but the mechanism of distribution is not known right now. And the launch of token is expected to happen in Q4 this year, so we will see how it will happen. And another project is called newcoming. This is the layer 2 on Ethereum that the team behind it, called Miston Labs, they raised around 450 millions in all rounds that were made in the past, and they are well positioned to actually scale their network because they launched their mainnet back in April. And on this graph, you can see that since April to the date, the TVL on the network grew from 0 to 200 million USD, meaning that pace of depositing is on this chain is quite high, but still the pace is comparably lower, and there is no such hype that we've seen around layer 0. If we look at total newcoming era breach data, we've seen more like a gradual increasing of total breached Ethereum and total wallets that are entering the network and bringing their assets. So at this point of time, we have 1.1 unique wallets on the network, and around 600,000 is breached to the network, which means that this number will be growing, and it might grow faster when we will, if we will see, and when we will see the airdrop of layer 0, for example. A lot of users will try to look for another projects that are well positioned for launching a token in the near future and distributing it using airdrop. So it means that after the launch of zero token and after potential airdrop of zero token, a lot of project can benefit from it. And in this case, newcoming will benefit 100% because this is something that in circles of Web3 communities is expected as one of the next big airdrops for Web3 users. And yep, the last slide for today, actually the question that we try to answer. So will airdrops still be used for token distribution in the future? Feel free to share your thoughts in comments. Would be glad to know what you are thinking. From my point of view, we are still in the time where airdrops are useful, where projects can create value for a big number of community members. So you can imagine distributing assets between 600,000 people and making them user of your network, and creating strategies where you can attract them and make them as sustainable users of your network. It means that airdrops still can be used for it if you can create a clever strategy. And this is something that I've seen with another project that I didn't include today. You might heard about biggest back in the past biggest NFT platform called OpenSea, and recently they have seen a big competition from another marketplace called Blur, and actually this competition was filled and actually created by the rewards program that was created. It was really smartly created by the founding team of Blur. So what they did, they created several seasons of farming Blur token, which means that for a first season, by doing certain activities on their platform, the users received a portion of tokens. And then immediately after the season one ended, there was the announcement of season two, where even a bigger part of token should be distributed to the community, which means that after rewarding users, project decided to announce that they will be rewarded in the future one more time if they will keep using the platform, keep doing activities for which they can collect points, and these points can be converted to tokens in the future. So my point of view here is that airdrops will be used, but some additional strategies behind distribution and behind clever distribution, not like a single time distribution, but continuously, gradually rewarding your community for doing certain activities, is a good way to bring people and bring more activity to your platform. So my answer is yes, we will see more airdrops in the future. Yeah, I'm checking if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments to share. And actually see nothing, which means that everything was clear for you. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us today. I encourage you to check our website. You might find something interesting for you with our education investment club, or just joining our community. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. It was a pleasure to describe you my thoughts, my views on retro hunting and airdrops. So see you next time. Have a lovely evening.